Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock, let's go over the broader market. And if you enjoy, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. But again, if you enjoy my technical analysis, thoughts, and charts, updates, guys, don't forget, I am sharing my thoughts with my members every single day as the market is open and trading. So again, if you're interested in having my constant updates throughout the trading day as it's open and trading, well, link is down below. If you're interested, for just $3 a month, gives you access to all my Tesla updates and broader market updates, SPY, Qs, VIX, things like that, options, flow, different time frame analysis. $5 includes NVDA, $7 of course includes the whole package, which also includes my private Discord. We have a tier 3 chat room. I do chart reviews every Sunday with tier 3 members that they request, and you get access to all my tier 3 updates on the YouTube private membership section that essentially includes non-Tesla, non-NVIDIA stocks and charts. But all that being said and done, ladies and gentlemen, jumping into a Tesla today, closing down about, we'll just say a quarter, I should say, of a percent, down at about $429 per share. So what does this mean moving forward, right? Tesla, definitely underperforming the market a little bit today, right? The Q's up almost at 0.8%. So what does this mean? Well, today, we had a bit of a false breakout, right? We did have a bit of a false breakout where you can see on about the 15-minute or so time frame, we ended up, or even the 5-minute time frame, doesn't really matter. We ended up closing a candle above the key level that kept resisting Tesla over and over and over. And we closed it on decent volume too. So it was, honestly, things were looking pretty good. And I told my members that, as long as this holds and we do not lose the low of the day, that is looking pretty good. Well, unfortunately, you can see we lost the low of the day. And the second that happened, we plummeted right down to about the 420 zone, which, sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles. But the question is, is this bad? Is this false breakout concerning? Or what does this actually mean moving forward, right? Well, the good news, and there is good news, right? The good news is the fact that, we had the false breakouts, and we ended up, coming right back down to that sort of 420 region, which was one of the levels or one of the pathways I mentioned. But we held it, right? The most important thing to me, at least for now, is we held the 420 region, which is, of course, where there's a lot of support, right? We had a lot of support in the past here, resistance in the past right here, and now we're starting to try to turn that area back into support. Also, that's where all the exponential moving averages are pretty much jumbled up together. The 50, the 21, the 9, they're all sort of sandwiched up in this little area between 419 to as high as about 423 or so, right? So that sort of, close to 420 region is pretty important to hold. Now, from a bullish perspective, as long as the bulls continue holding this region down here, and essentially as long as the bulls avoid closing a daily candle nicely below 420, so like 417, 418 or lower about, things are not looking too bad still, right? I think that the bulls absolutely still have their chance, right? Their opportunity, if you will, to break out and continue higher. And at the very least, see closer to about the mid 440s, right? That still really wouldn't shock me, somewhere around this sort of region right here, right? Give or take. You can see massive resistance here, some support around here, some resistance around here, pretty much right around that 445, give or take, of course, region. That is still very much in the cards, as long as we do not lose again about that 420 zone. As long as that holds, that's good. But we still need that confirmation. We still need to break out of this sort of region. And this trend line, ultimately, that's still continuing to reject the price, right? We don't want to happen to the bulls here, from a bullish perspective, of course, what happened to the bears down here, where the bears got, two pretty decent chances on breaking down. But you can see, despite us heading below the bottom trend line, we never actually closed candles below that, right? For instance, here, you can see we ended up going below that. But did we close below that? No, we did not. Kind of the same thing over here, where, we went above the trend line today, this morning, but did we close above it? No, we did not. Sort of the same principle, just flipped. So the bulls, what they want to see is they want to see nice strength coming into the stock, and they want to see, ideally, the easiest way to do it, hopefully without, missing too much of the move, of course, is getting nice daily candle closures, essentially outside of this trend line, somewhere above the low 3 or 430s roughly, right? That's what we want to be seeing. And that's the main thing I'll be focusing on going into as early as tomorrow, because we are preparing for potentially what could be a big move. We are starting to compress a little bit over here. We are starting to get sandwiched between key levels. Again, the low 430s region, which of course is that sort of resistance level that we're clearly getting rejections from over and over with the trend line, but also some strong support near that 420 zone that we're continuing to find support here ever since this candle started doing it back here. And then this pullback this morning also found some support around that 420 zone. So So we're getting tight and sandwiched in between this sort of $10-ish region. So the tighter we get, the more explosive the move most likely is going to be once it finally occurs and once a direction is picked. Now, to the downside, if we pick down, if we start losing below these levels like I mentioned, at the very least, I would expect a move back down to retest about closer to $400 per share, which is essentially going to be another move back down to that trend line. That becomes a very real possibility. But again, as long as the bulls do not lose this trend line and close below that, technically the bears have not won yet, or in other words, the bulls have not actually lost just yet. And the vice versa is completely true for the upper trend line up here. Same idea. The bulls need to close above it. The bears obviously want to prevent that. So until we start getting actual candle closures above or below one of these two major trend lines, technically speaking, nobody has won just yet. Neither side has actually committed, victory, if you will, just yet. So that's going to be something to watch for in the days to come. What else is there? The weekly stochastic is still in the green zone, which is good. So overall, the weekly, the bulls are still holding pretty strong here. The 1 hour time frame. The 1 hour time frame is where I'm a little bit on the more concerned side, only because, we have the bullish exponential moving averages, but you can see ever since we had this nice breakout up here, we started making higher highs, higher lows, right? Higher highs, higher lows. But, this recent move to the downside when we tested 420 sort of around afternoon time, it did technically break these lows here, right? Because off of this pivot low, we made this pivot high. And off of this pivot high, we made an actual lower low, arguably. So this could be just a higher, or I should say a lower high being developed on the again, this is a very, very short time frame, right? Pretty much came up to the 618 Fibonacci. There is a chance that we do reject from here and then we actually, ultimately lose the 420s and make our way down to closer to $400 per share. That is unfortunately a possibility. That is not something you can completely ignore, which is why we need to see actual nice strength above. Another example, another way to look at it is maybe the 1 hour time frame. If you're maybe too impatient or you don't want to wait for the daily closures, you want to ideally get something a little bit sooner than that. The 1 hour is pretty good usually because kind of the same idea. Look at all these wicks. It's like a graveyard of wicks up here. Constant rejection of price, constant aggressive wicks up here. Anytime we enter into the 430 to 433, 434-ish zone, constant wicks, constant wicks, constant wicks. We need to change that. That needs to get changed. So if we can start closing even 1 hour candles in that low 430 zone, that already could be a good sign. But that's something that we need to go ahead and start working on, right? If we can start doing that, that would be a good sign of things to come. So another way to look at it as well, if you want to get a bit of potentially, higher risk, higher reward, earlier suggestions of what the price is trying to tell us, if that makes sense. So, it's worth watching that, but, we are pretty much near what could be a deciding point if the bulls really come out swinging, or unfortunately, another test of about $400 is in play. We should find out pretty soon, maybe even as early as tomorrow. So let's continue monitoring that, but a big move most likely is developing here for Tesla stock. Going over the broader market very quickly, SPY got a pretty decent rejection off of what is now a bit of a resistance zone somewhere in the mid 680s, right? You can see here, got a bit of a kind of problems, if you will, up here. Got some issues up here as well, and now we're sort of having issues really getting above and actually holding nicely above that sort of mid 680s region, right? So this is going to be that next level to watch for on the market itself. I don't expect the market to just blast past this and start going higher like as early as tomorrow, personally, mainly because SPY in this case, we are a little bit still extended from the exponential moving averages. We're a little bit too far to the upside, right? So, maybe some sideways action, worst case scenario, a slow little drip down like this while we hug this sort of trend line support. Is expected. That is something that really wouldn't be surprised to see, and then that should kind of give the market a bit of a breathing room, kind of set up maybe what even looks like a bit of a bull flag type scenario back into the exponential moving averages as they meet up to move towards the price of the market. And then from there, we continue higher. A good example of that could be something like, I don't know, what's the cleanest looking one? Maybe something like this, I guess. Maybe this one here, I guess you can see where, price started to get a little bit extended. We came right back into it, a little bit of a messy bull flag here, and then we went higher. Something like that, give or take, of course, is kind of more or less what I'm expecting. Maybe not as much of a drop, something a little bit more slower to the downside, but worth mentioning that the market is near major resistance here, but we are a little bit on the extended side. So don't be too surprised if we see a little bit of sideways chop, if not maybe slow little drip of pain. But again, nothing major. And as long as the market ideally holds about 677 to 676 on SPY, I still remain bullish. Worst case scenario, SPY dips to about 674. But as long as that holds, I also continue to remain bullish. On the Qs, kind of the same thing. You can see also approaching a major kind of resistance zone up here near the sort of 625 5-ish region. Also, same with the Qs, getting a little bit extended from the exponential moving averages. So also on the Qs, despite them being stronger than SPY, don't be too surprised if the Qs get a rejection from here and make their way back down to retest closer to the exponential moving averages. A worst case scenario, if it happens quickly, could be a quick move back down to about 612 or so. Or if it's a slow little drip, don't be surprised to see a move back down to about 617, 616, which was that sort of support right around here, and resistance. Come back down, very slow drip as the exponential moving averages meet up with price. And then from there, we head higher. But overall, the next overall major support level, resistance level to break on the Qs is going to be around that mid 620s region. And above that, we should see a gap fill near the 632s. But that's pretty much the main way I'm looking at it right now. Tesla, again, coiling up, setting up for a pretty nice move. So definitely watch for that in the days to come. Overall, options flow on Tesla stock, more bullish than bearish for sure. But, overall, the flow still has been sort of lackluster. I did see some nice calls come in. For instance, 1226, which is December 26th, 440 call, 1.9 million, which is pretty good. We had a 1.3 million call for 450 for December 26th come in as well. But we also saw some pretty short-term puts come in. And this is when the price was trying to break above that 34-ish region. The bears really struck that thing down pretty aggressively right around here. So that's something that is worth mentioning. And then towards the end of the day, options flow was, a little bit mixed, arguably slightly bullish leaning, but arguably also pretty mixed. I don't really see one way or the other right now with the options flow. I don't see anything too super duper unusual, other than the fact that I do see some bulls coming in with some short-term this week and next week calls over here, but nothing just really substantial that just makes me go like, wow, that is something crazy. It's just, yeah, it's there. Could be good, but it's nothing that I would, make a crazy bet on, if that makes sense. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it right now. But yeah, all in all, guys, that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Peace.